Okay, for a moment, let's talk about business statistics. These statistics that I will present to you are offered directly from the Department of Bureau and Labor Statistics. These are government statistics that are printed out on a regular basis, whether it's yearly, monthly, quarterly. They are current and they are active as of June 2009. The government estimates that 75% of all businesses in the U.S. are small businesses. These businesses account for over 17 million companies registered and licensed in the United States. The revenue of these companies reaches almost $800 billion per year. 800 billion. Just in those 800 billion are over $33 billion in the year 2008 attributed to the health and personal services, which is up 19% from the previous year, 2007. This represents a growth of almost 20% in a single sector and one of only few economic sectors which actually gain not only market share but revenue over the last year, year and a half. In Washington state alone, there are over 150,000 small businesses. These small businesses represent 98% of the total businesses in Washington state. That means 98% of all business in Washington state are small businesses. Only 2% are categorized outside of small businesses, i.e. your big companies like Starbucks or Microsoft. Those small businesses created 95% of all new jobs. All new jobs, new hires, 95% of those were created and attributed to small businesses within Washington state. It's an amazing, staggering statistic. Continuing on in our discussion about statistics, the SBA, as well as SCORE, the Service Corps of Retired Executives, estimate that 33% of all businesses fail within the first 2 years of operation. That's basically 1/3. One out of every 3 businesses will fail. It's a fact. If you start 3 businesses, one of them will fail. Or if 3 people start a business simultaneously, odds are one of those 3 people will be out of business within the first 2 years. And there's several reasons why. The top 2 cited are the following. The main reason is that the business owner did not correctly calculate what it would really cost to open their doors, i.e. startup costs, and then keep them open long enough to start turning a profit. That could be 6 months, it could be a year, it could be 2 years, it could be 10 years, depending on the business. The point is, they didn't know how much it would take to open, and they didn't think about how much it would take to keep them open long enough to actually turn a profit and start paying back those initial startup costs. Without actually knowing how much money you need to get going, you're going to run the risk of starting out with a cash crunch. And this is a huge problem. It's a huge detriment to starting and operating your business successfully. Think about more established businesses. These are businesses that can handle an occasional money crisis. If the market goes up, the market goes down, they're fine. But not having enough money, especially in a credit crunch or a market crunch, that's the death of a startup. We're going to talk a little bit more about business history and demographics and also startup costs as we progress along in this presentation. But one of the things you want to have in your mind is really be careful about planning the cost. Be realistic with yourself. Be conservative even in terms of what your company is going to cost to start up and operate, because the first 2 years of your operation are going to be years where you're testing the market, figuring out if the company and the business are right for you. And you're going to want to turn a profit as soon as possible, but that may not be possible within the first year of operation, so you want to account for that. You may have heard the old axiom, especially when used in relation to things like sports and athletics, that sport is 90% mental and 10% physical, or 90% a thinking game and 10% a physical game. This may be true. In business, we like to use the 75-25 rule. Obviously, there can be no business without action, but as we mentioned before, planning, whether it be organizational planning or capital or finance planning, there needs to be some preparation in your business. We believe and we use the 75-25 rule, which states you want to spend 75% of your time actually preparing your business, researching statistics, researching your market, researching your potential customer base, and then 25% of your time will be putting that plan into action, taking your preparation, taking your research, and actually making it work for you. I'm not talking about going out there and doing the sales or doing the actual work, picking up the phone and calling clients. I'm talking about taking that research and looking at it, understanding it, taking it to the next level, and moving it into putting your plan into action, realizing what you need to do, the forms you need to fill out, the paperwork you need to fill out to start the business, maybe the special licensing you need to get, but having a holistic view of your business and recognizing what it's going to take to get from the beginning of your planning to the end of your planning, and then actually starting your business. What are the things that you're going to need operationally? What are the processes that you're going to need to put in place to work successfully inside your business? Do you need to get processes in place for marketing? Do you need to get processes in place for human resources, hiring? Do you need to think about product manufacturing? Things like that. These are all preparation items, and later they will be items that you'll act on to make your plan come to fruition. Continuing along and speaking about planning, one of the first elements of your planning will be to decide what type of company structure you're going to take. They each have their own advantages and disadvantages, and we'll speak for a moment about each of them. The first and most obvious and also the easiest to set up is a sole proprietorship. And this is really one individual or a married couple that are going to be doing business alone. They won't have employees or hire any other people. These are the most common forms of business structures. However, they're also the form that can hold the most liability for the owner. All of the debts that you incur as a business will be held under your personal name. They will be registered to your personal social security number, and in the event that the business fails, you will be personally liable for all of those business debts. Also, legally, you'll be held liable for anything that happens. For instance, if you own a retail store and someone comes into your store and trips and falls and hurts themselves, you might be liable for that person's medical bills. You may also be able to be sued, and they may be able to get at your personal assets like your house or your car. It doesn't really offer a shield for that type of liability. The advantage of this type of business structure is it's extremely inexpensive to start. There are only a few documents you need to send out. You probably won't need any attorneys or lawyers to help you with the paperwork. And it's very efficient and not very time consuming to get the paperwork filled out, sent in, and up and running and started very quickly. The general partnership is another common type of business entity, and it is composed of any two or more people. Each member or partner shares in the profit, losses, and the management of the business, and each partner is personally and equally liable for the debts of the partnership. The limited partnership, or LP, is composed of one or more general partners and one or more limited partners. The advantage of having this type of business is that the limited partners share in the profits of the business, but their losses are limited to the extent of their investment. Limited partners are not usually involved in the day-to-day operation of the business, and they're also usually not liable for the debts and the liability that the partnership may incur. The general partners will manage the business and share fully in its profit and losses. This is a type of entity not unlike the general partnership, but it does offer a little bit more protection both in the equity, profits and losses, and also through liability.